No.
It's recording.
Hello, welcome everybody. It's recording, thank you. Hey everybody, my name is Mike DiMuccio. Welcome to our very brief but succinct call this morning, afternoon, I guess, depending on what time zone you're calling in from. We call this the Power A-Team call, and it's our goal to just give you a little bit of couple of stories that might help you in your process of evaluating if Nikken is a fit for you. Usually we invite people who've learned a little bit about Nikken on this call to hear some of the stories of people who were at one point in time sitting exactly where you are, looking at Nikken and saying, okay, I'm on the outside looking in, but can I see myself on the inside, and inside maybe looking out? So we've all been there. We all know what it feels like, and I want to hear, we've got a few people lined up for you to hear from. So I'm going to start off with Sherri Danzig. Sherri, are you in Atlanta today?
I am.
All right, so we have Sherri Danzig, who's in Atlanta today. Now, Sherri, you're going to have to tell your story, how long you've been with Nikken, but really, why did you get involved with Nikken then? And tell us why you're involved with Nikken now.
Thank
Sherri
you.
Danzig.
21 years ago, I was introduced to Nikken. And at the time, I was in a very busy massage practice, worked for myself. And I had 3 young daughters, still married, and with 3 young daughters who at the time were 8 years old and then 4-year-old twins. So I was very busy being a mom, very busy compressing a massage schedule so I could be at home some of the time. And what people did not know about me, because I was quite embarrassed about this, is I had a terrible back issue. And I had been, dealing with it with everything I knew to do with getting massage myself, getting chiropractic adjustments, all of that helped. It didn't last long enough, and I would be a train wreck every week when I got my massage. So I was praying for something that would give me relief when this was introduced to me. So my first step into Nikken was, can this solve my back issue and get me from taking so much Motrin? I called myself a Motrin junkie. And so the products worked immediately. I slept one night. I didn't quite believe it. I didn't know if I'd placeboed myself, but within a week I had really good confirmation, because the massage I got a week later after being on the sleep system felt very different. And I'm very tuned into my body as a massage therapist. And somebody that's in pain, you're very tuned into your body. So I knew that something had changed, and I got very excited. And within a month's time, back then we had cassette tapes. Somebody gave me a cassette tape, and I listened to a conversation about the business. I understood that someone talked about, I don't remember who it was, but they talked about investing in products so that they could be your silent employees. And I got that because I didn't have a lot of time to do this business. But what I could do was talk about my experience. And so I spent $5,000 and I invested in a bunch of sleep systems that actually some of them are still running around my house today. Some of them I've sold because we have new technology, but those products still work. And I use those products. I started talking to my massage clients and really everyone I knew about how they slept. Back then, sleep was not something we talked about, but I talked to my clients about sleep, and I got lots of people interested in coming and getting free massage. I started seeing lots and lots of people's lives change. And within a month's time, this was the end of November when it was introduced to me. By my birthday, on my birthday, the products arrived. How perfect. And a month later, I was in the business. It was a no-brainer. The thing that I also wasn't really speaking out loud was that I had done the math in my head sometimes while I was doing massage about how I had run out of time. As a massage therapist, you only have so much time in the day that you can work. And I was already compressing my day so I could be home sometimes, full-time mommy. So I was running out of options. I didn't really know what else I was going to do, but I could see the writing on the wall that this was not going to get me the lifestyle I wanted. And so I was looking for something without having a clue of what it was going to be. And it was a quick study. I've been really a student all these years about why network marketing works so well and why this is something that people, the common person like myself, could afford, because a franchise was something would have been way out of our budget to invest in. But so that's where I was. Why I'm doing it still today is that I'm as passionate, if not more passionate. I'm now 60, and now what I'm looking at is retirement. And, you know, we've always worked for ourselves. And so the idea that I don't have to retire, I don't want to retire. I don't want to stop making a difference in people's lives and being an influencer. And I feel like I'm getting better at that and understanding how to communicate to a bigger audience. So I'm more excited now about having something that I can do for the rest of my life. And, you know, I learned from financial people that if you want to have $100,000 of passive income, you need $4 million in the bank. I don't have $4 million in the bank. Most people I know don't. But this is a way to create something to start building now and build an asset that can pay you a residual income. And that's what it's doing for us. The last thing I want to share real quickly is that if anybody that's listening to this has children that are approaching college age, or maybe in college, or approaching maybe in graduate school, my family has been graced by this company because of a scholarship program. And so my oldest daughter went to a private school for undergrad, and then we were not going to help her with her graduate level. So she entered Emory University as a medical student 5 years ago. And this company, because of their scholarship program, paid all 4 years of her medical school tuition. And so my daughter graduated medical school a year ago. She's a first year, almost a second year resident. And she didn't have to pay. She doesn't have these gargantuan loans, which has really set her up for life to not, you know, Nikken paid $200,000 of her education for being a doctor. And I can brag a little bit and tell you that she was just awarded the Resident of the Year at, she's in Austin. So she's doing very well, and that's a pretty exciting thing. That's an exciting, you know, add-on that this company has given my family.
You know, I forgot entirely about that, but that's just extraordinary when you consider that's one of the biggest bubbles right now in the American economy worldwide for people looking for an education. Wow, that's amazing. Sure, I have one question. If you had to do Nikken, if this was your first 90 days, and you kind of answered it a little bit already, but if this was your first 90 days to do over again, what would you do different?
Well, I went pretty quick. So I reached the first level of leadership in the first 90 days. But with what I know now, I would have gone quicker. I would have talked to more people. I would have talked to more influential people. And I did a lot of things right, because I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I didn't know anybody here in the business. And so I was tapping into my upline in Colorado and doing tons of three-way calls, so I could leverage leadership that knew a lot more than I did. So I already was doing that. I did a lot of things right, but I would be talking to even more influential people earlier on.
Fantastic. So you were doing ABC calls. That was one of the things you were doing right, so you'd recommend that highly. But then do it more often with influential people.
I think so, yes.
Sooner than later. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Sherri, for joining us.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to move to Toronto, Canada. Not too far from me, maybe about 30 minutes from me, is my young associate here who joined Nikken a day after I did. And his name is Bo Tanas. He's a Royal Diamond in Toronto. Bo, you've been with Nikken 27 years. Why did you join Nikken then? And why are you doing Nikken today?
I needed something, and it made a lot of sense. I had been exposed to network marketing before. I didn't do great at it, but it was a learning experience. And then that company was going downhill. And that company used to brag about, after 25 years, they did $1 billion in sales. And then you introduced Nikken to Canada, Michael. And Nikken had done several billion in far less time. I thought, this is a different kind of big. Something must be going on. And but in that previous network marketing experience, I was a very avid student. I was so curious to know, what do people do to make a better income? I had done a lot of things in my life. I had been a musician. When I started raising a family, I had to come off the road, and I worked different jobs. I worked all kinds of jobs, and sales, door-to-door sales. Became an entrepreneur. But even then, I was really trading time for money. If I wasn't working, I was earning income. Just a little story. At one point, I had a video wholesale business plus 2 video stores and a small restaurant I was opening, working a lot, night and day. But I remember driving down on Friday, the new releases would come out. How many of you in the audience there are old enough to remember VHS and beta? You can raise your hand. So videos, ancient technology, but it was state of the art then. I'm driving down the highway. I have a van full of new releases. Thousands of dollars in video sitting in my van with cages on the windows. I mean, serious. And I'm driving down a highway here in Toronto going west on the QEW, the Queen Elizabeth Way. And I'm driving along, rushing to get to the stores who are waiting with bated breath for these videotapes. And I look out the window and there's people golfing at like 3, 4, 5 p.m. in the afternoon. Like, don't they have a job? What the heck I didn't get that memo. What are they doing for a living that they're golfing in the middle of the week or in the middle of the day? So right there, I became a little curious, and I never stopped being curious. Then I discovered network marketing and what a brilliant concept it is, but I was skeptical about it. And so I did read a lot of books, watched a lot of videos, and I recommend all of you to discover the power of this business, because Mike and I and a lot of the people on our team have been living the dream. It's not a theory. It's possible to make very high income, to help a lot of people because of your Nikken network that expands locally, nationally, and then globally. And the more people in your network, the more people you're helping and the more money all of you make. Bigger the network, as we say, the bigger the check. It's really that simple. And Nikken does all the stuff that we don't like to do. I've had traditional business, a lot of paperwork, a lot of staff. Nikken does the shipping, the billing, you name it. They produce the products and they ship them to everybody's door. We just got to connect people with Nikken and let them choose what they want, whether they want to be a customer or a partner. So the reason I joined, I had 2 small kids. The video stores I had did really well. I sold them for a great profit. I opened up a restaurant, lost everything. And now I get into real estate, and now in their early 90s. And the market crashes the day I get my real estate license in the mail. And so I'm struggling with real estate, but long story short, a great customer of mine, Bruce Black, a retired multimillionaire who Mike had introduced to Nikken, he told me about Nikken. And I'm thinking, why is this gazillionaire doing Nikken? Well, not a gazillionaire, but worth many millions. And he had such a dramatic product experience that he came out of retirement to actively pursue the business. And so that really clicked with me. A product that would do that for someone who doesn't need the money, he could have just, but he felt obligated to tell a lot of people about it. So that's what I did to get started and why I got started. And within 6 months, I was able to leave real estate and go full-time. Within a year, I was making a 6-figure income. It's because I saw a lot of people like Sherri, and that makes a big difference.
So Bo, is there a motive for now? Why now?
Yeah. First of all, it continues to pay me a small fortune every year. So I love being active. I love working with the people we have. I see now in Nikken, we have a whole new management team, and it's very exciting that I think we're going to recreate what we did in the very beginning. So I feel a sense of excitement and the potential. And the bottom line is, just from a logical point of view, here we have a company that's done billions, and yet 99.9% of the population still has not heard of it. Why? Because the human population grows faster than all network marketing companies in the world can ever penetrate it. More people got married this year than joined all network marketing companies globally. So the point is, the potential is huge. It's limitless. Plus, it's fun. Once you understand what it is and learn how to, it's like driving a car. Initially, you're a little skeptical, but once you learn a few of the basics, it's doable because people from all walks of life are already doing it. So you have to ask yourself, if those yahoos can do it, why not me? I still keep asking myself that question. But
well, you did a lot of right things because you did have that experience, and so maybe you can highlight in the next minute what you did right and maybe what you would have done different if you had the first 90 days to do over again.
What I did right, and because I studied and listened to a lot of information in the beginning, and in that previous company, I did not have the success. I did everything wrong. But here I was told that you can't make anybody do anything. In fact, when I contacted my friends, my top 10 people, none of them were interested. I was kind of shocked about it, quite honestly. But I realized they weren't going to pay my bills. They weren't going to look after my kids. So I was going to do Nikken with or without them. And of course, they used the products. They enjoyed them, but they weren't interested in the business. And so I did see a lot of people. I contacted 100 people. And here's my numbers really quickly. I contacted one or two a day for about 3-4 months, about 100 days roughly. So about 100 people. I would meet someone for lunch, give audio cassette or VHS, ancient technology, but it worked. And just like Sherri said, the products work for you and the tools speak for you. You could talk to 1 or 2 people a day, but you could meet 5 people one day, make a short contact and give them a tool. Now you would send them to a great link or something. But it wasn't hard to contact a lot of people. And what I did is out of the 100, 65 weren't interested in anything. I didn't have time to care. I had hungry kids and I just needed to make a change. So, and it all made sense to me. I had great product experiences, my mother, my kids. So, and look around, where are you going to find these products? So 35 of those people said, yeah, show me more. They came to a coffee shop meeting. They came to my house or to a hotel meeting. 20 at least signed up and got some products. And, but 5 of them were serious about the business now. Some did a bit more later, but 5 are serious now. Those 5, I'm still getting paid on what those people created 27 years ago. And if I were to do anything differently, I would do that, what we call a launch, like a rocket. I would do that every year for at least 3, 4, 5 years. My business would be 10 times bigger than it is. I can't complain, but it would have been. So it's a great experience. And thanks, Mike, for hosting this call.
Well, thank you both. Thanks for your story and your time this morning. All right, now we're going to go to Florida, to the Sarasota area with another good friend of mine, Igor Gruendl. Igor, I'm not sure how many years you've been with Nikken. I think it's over 20. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 24 years now.
24 years. I was going to say I wrote down 25, but I didn't want to guess. So
yeah,
Igor has had a great Nikken experience, a great Nikken story. So Igor, why don't you share with us first and foremost, why did you join Nikken back then, and then jump into why you're doing Nikken today?
Well, the answer why I joined Nikken was very simple. I needed money. I lived the American dream, which meant I had $36,000 in credit card debt, and I had nothing that I owned to my name. And I just got married. My son was 1 month old. I needed money, big time. So, but I was in a situation where I immigrated to the United States in 1989, and I came out of a family business. We had fashion business in Germany with 10 stores, but I did not have the golden touch when it came to identifying fashion that would sell a year later. My mother noticed very quickly that I'm not good at that. So I was in the back office. I was pretty good at that. And then I went into different areas because I didn't like retail. So I went into wholesale. I was an independent sales rep in the fashion industry. I actually had a t-shirt collection. And then I was also in an advertising agency where we were the rookie advertising agency of the year in Germany at one point, because we have kind of revolutionized how to streamline things for the fashion industry. But as much success as that I'd had in there, it didn't fulfill me at all. So I said, well, I'm going to leave Germany and I'm going to head to America because everything's better. And then and I said, and where I will go into is going to be the natural healthcare industry, because that's where I feel home. And the reason why I got there, it was because I had an adverse reaction to prescription medication, and a doctor gave me a cream that he's developed, and he showed me a chart of acupuncture chart for ears. And he says, well, you put this on your earlobe and it will take care of things. I said, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. But anyway, it worked. And that got me going, thinking. I said, you know what? That's where I have to be. I have to be in a field where I can help people, where I can feel fulfilled. So I moved to America. I became a massage therapist. Yay, it was awesome. So I was working like 7 days a week, literally, when I started, especially when we started our family. And because I have this entrepreneurial spirit, I said, I have to find something. A door has to open and show me the way. And then one day I said, oh, I'm going to go to Colorado and I'm going to open up a health clinic and it'll be awesome. And then one day a friend said, well, how much is that going to cost? So I started writing things down and I ended up at $12 million. And I was like, oh, that's not going to happen anytime soon. So, but how it is when you start thinking about things have to change in my life, doors open. Now, sometimes we close those doors, and I did. There were other network marketing companies that actually knocked on my door, and I always slammed the door or dropped the phone. And I said, not my thing. But one day I was invited, unbeknownst to me, under false present, to a meeting, a Nikken meeting. I was invited to see how magnetism works on living things. There's a guy here from Hawaii, and he's going to tell us how that works. Now, I'm always a sucker for anything that's natural. So I come to this meeting, there's products, there's a guy in a suit, and there's a flip chart, there's 5 chairs. The first row was the last row, and we're sitting in a computer store, and I thought, I have to get out of here. And since I didn't want to be rude, I didn't get out of here, and 3 hours later, I signed up. Now, I got to tell you, I was probably a prospect from hell, because I said, if they're going to have me here, they're going to hear me out. And because I'm working in the healthcare field, and I know that business. And you can't tell people magnets do anything. What's your credentials? I was tough, but I signed up because I said, well, you know what? There's one rule I do know. If there's a chance to not have to pay retail, I'm in. So that's what I did. And I told the person who signed me up, don't contact me. There's one thing I have, do not contact me. 14 days later, he called me, and I called him and says, what's up? Why aren't you calling me? Well, because you told me not to call you. Because we had a product result. Now, I was very healthy. I was taking care of myself. I was fit. I had no aches and discomforts. But my wife, who, when I brought those products home, thought I was absolutely nuts. And she had the result. She didn't want the result, but she had the result. And she had discomfort for many, many years because due to a horseback accident, a car accident, and a couple of other things. And the pregnancy that we had with our first child was not easy. But after about 3 to 4 days, she was talking to me in the morning. Well, she hasn't done that for 9 months. And she was feeling better, but she didn't tell me anything. But then I noticed about 6 weeks later that she wasn't coming to therapy. And because of her horseback accident, she was like 1 to 3 times, up between 1 and 3 times in the clinic, getting adjustment, massage, whatever. And she didn't show up. And that's when I realized, oh my goodness, something happened. And now you couldn't stop me anymore. Now I said, if this is going to work on her, let's try it on my patients. So I asked the doctors that I was working for, do you mind that I use these products on the patients? Oh, no problem. Well, they wanted the products, they got better. Then I was called into the office and the doctor says, you got to stop using the products. I said, why? Well, the patients are getting better too quick. So I said, well, there's only 2 possibilities now. You can join me because this is awesome, or I have to leave. Well, you can guess what happened. I left. Now, I wouldn't recommend people to do what I did, keep your day job until you make enough. I didn't. But on the other hand, it was my journey. And it took me about 6 months because now I had to like really work the business. And I listened to the people that were actually making the income that I was seeking, and that helped me. And then I stuck verbatim to what they did, because they told me one thing that rings in my ears today. If you want to, you make $10,000 or $20,000 a month, and then if you think it needs changing, then you change it. So I said, okay, so I just have to do what they say, and when I reach that, I can change it. Well, guess what? Once I reached it, I didn't change a bit. So that was the one thing I can. And today, for me, it's the same thing. I just had a conversation before we got on the conference call today, and somebody said, "Well, isn't it a little bit outdated?" I said, "What?" "Well, magnets, that was from yesteryears." And I said, "What do you mean? I put the products on people and they get excited. They still, their mouth drops. They say, 'What just happened? What is that?' They still." And as Bo said, you know, the people that are now of age of recognizing opportunities or the entrepreneurship, well, they weren't even born when we started. And there's so many more people here. Network marketing, like Bo said, cannot be saturated by how many people are out there. And that's one reason people want to live healthy, natural. They don't want to change their routine. Because one of the reasons why I left the massage clinic was because the people did not listen to what I asked them to do, simple exercises, lifestyle changes. It was too much for them. But here they could stand, sit, sleep. They could wear things. They could drink. They could do things that they're doing anyway. And that is still the most powerful thing, because there's more people, because health overall has not changed. It has even gotten worse. I mean, we're dealing now with opioid crisis. We're dealing with we talked 25 years ago about running amok healthcare costs and have never seen this. I remember there was a book that was called, and it was revolutionary at the time. It was called The Next $1 Trillion Industry. Anybody remember that? Hey, I ran the figures. Do you know where that industry is now? At $5 trillion. And that is the natural healthcare industry. It is today at $5 trillion. So my question generally is, well, if you recognize that natural healthcare is important, and if you recognize that there's a leader like, for example, Nikken, a research company that looks into things that can help us naturally get healthy, stay healthy, and heal, well, and if it's something that you think that you might need, and when you see the results like we did, that you feel compelled to share it with others, well, what part of that $5 trillion industry would you want to have? How much would you need? And if you look at the next 5 years, well, you've got 24 hours. What are you going to do? If you want to change, how are the change going to look like? Where do you want to be? And do you have a roadmap getting you there? Well, maybe it would be interesting to sit down with a couple of people who actually did that been in the same position that you're in, that maybe, you know, we're looking for hope, that we're looking for something to bring the changes that society, school, educational system had promised us, cost us dearly, but could not give us. So, and that's up to you. We made that decision. We jumped into it. You know, I went off the cliff, literally. And I knew that on my way down, I will develop wings. Why? Because it was much better than the alternative. And that's, you know, and that's why I am still here and why I will still be around. Why? Because as you can see, it's exciting.
Yeah, you should see when he gets excited, really excited. I'm not going to ask you the last question for time's sake, but I think you've sort of weaved it into your story as to what you would do. So
absolutely.
One of the biggest pieces of that is follow somebody who's doing it and is winning. So great advice. So folks, there you have it. You've got a few stories there to draw from. Maybe there's something in there that you see for yourself. We want to encourage you to go ahead and make the decision, because until you do that, you don't need anything, because, you know, some people say, well, what if I don't have the money? Well, that wouldn't be a reason not to do Nikken. That would actually be a reason to do Nikken if you heard these stories correctly. And so make a decision. From there, then you figure out the rest, and we'll help you. We'll help you figure out what you need to do to get your business off the ground. I want to point to this particular target here. It's called the Incentive Program for Nikken. They have an amazing program that they put in store for us for 2019, and the big event that we're going to celebrate with a 45-year anniversary with Nikken in New York City. Let Nikken pay an all-expensive first-class trip for you and your family, friends, whoever you want to have invited to this, because it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. We just got back from New York, or from Italy, and it happened, and it was fantastic. So plug in, join. We are a team of people committed and dedicated to a cause that is not only good for the planet, good for the people of the planet, and it's good for your economic situation. So join us. Thanks for joining this call. We'll leave you to your hosts. Thank you to Igor. Thank you to Bo. Thank you to Sherri for sharing your stories. Have a great day, everyone. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
Happy Father's Day, everyone.